Good afternoon in advance, everyone. Nana was supposed to be live at noon today to show you some techniques with sponging, and also I'm adding in some inking. But we've had through the storm the other night. I don't know if you guys had a storm or not, but we had a storm come through here that knocked out our router, and we still got our electricity, but you know, the internet and everything's down. So instead of this being live like it was supposed to be, I'm gonna go ahead, I've got it pre-recorded using other technology that someone else is helping me out with so we can make this happen. So we're going to still go ahead and do the sponging. It's just instead of being live, it's going to be recorded and posted on Facebook and YouTube on Zoe and Nana Stamping. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and launch into it and everything else. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is the card that I did back. This one was done back in with the March kit. And I actually used two techniques on here that I use quite often, but this particular one had a stencil as well as an inking technique. And with a stencil in this particular month, you actually got a sponge. It was this big, and I actually just took it and cut it down. It was a big circle like this, and I just cut it into fourths because personally I can't, it was too big for me to sponge with. So I just took it and made it into quarters, and now I have 4 of these. So to start off with, on this one here, when I was doing this card, I wanted to sit there and use the stencils because there was quite a few stencils in the kit, and I wanted to be sure to use them. So in this particular case, all that I did is I took my stencil, and here was the ink spots. So these are ink spots. They're 1 by 1, and sometimes I actually, this past Sunday or so ago, yeah, I guess last Sunday, I sat there and I gave a lot of my ink spots away as door prizes, but these are perfect for what you need to do that comes with the kit. And actually, you just need to test it first to see what it does. Now, like I've stamped it a couple of times, and when you look at the sponge, it doesn't look like much. But here I've got my white paper here to show you that it's more than you think. So if I did this 3 times like I do with my stamps, I've got ink here, all right? And I can even go over to my damp cloth like this here and clean it off if I need to. So what I did is I just took this, I just lightly damped it, and I make sure it wasn't too dark because I didn't want my clouds, as you can see, can't tell there's clouds because I just wanted something in the background. So it just wasn't plain words and right. So I just had to toy around with it, and it just lightly. I didn't like put a lot of heaviness behind it or anything else. I just lightly dabbed it so that I had my cloud. And you know, I could go darker if I wanted to, but I didn't because I wanted to stamp it in orange. But today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually stamp in blue. I'm not gonna do it just yet because I'm finished the techniques. We'll come back to it. But you can see when I got through, I had a light colored cloud, and that's really all I wanted for this card. I want it to be light, I want it to be subtle. But the other technique that I use that I carry over from my scrapbooking, same thing, you can do it one of 2 ways, is I ink the edges of the paper. Now you can see what kind of look I do if I with a sponge, and you can go all the way around. And it just depends what technique you want to look. Now, if I don't want to do it like that, the other way to do it is you can gently just take your paper and just run it across it just like that. Now you're going to get 2 different looks, so it depends on what kind of look you want. Now you can see this is really heavy right there because that's taking the ink straight as it is off the ink spot. This is me taking the sponge because I wanted it lighter, and I just took it and brushed it around. It gives it a nice little brushy look, but what you're gonna see later on when I show you something else where I did it, it really distinguishes it if you're putting white on white. It makes it look like you've got a cardstock or something else behind it, but you really don't. You don't have the layers, but you have the look. So anyway, that's what I did on this card. You can see here where I've actually taken, I've sponged that there, and I've also done this here. Now what you need to do when you're doing the sponge or inking, either one, or do any of the kind of stamping, you need to keep in mind that what it looks like on white paper is not going to look like what it looks on different color paper. So here's the same example that I did on green paper. And then here's another example that I did on yellow paper. So you can see it's going to make a difference. But what I would tell you if you wanted to try it on, or you're going to go stamp on something different than usual or something beyond white, I would go ahead and just take it and sample it first and see what it looks like. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is this could be your paper and you messed it up. Fine, flip it over and use the other side of the paper. Okay, so the world didn't end. Creativity, you know, if you make a mistake, it's just an opportunity for creativity. It's not the end of the world. Here's a couple of other colors that I did it on just to show you. I did it on the pink, I did it on the blue. Now right now, if I wanted to go ahead and do something with this, I'd most probably either do it with this one or I do it with this one, because I will show you, I could actually take my blue, this one here, this was the Bermuda Bay. This one actually came out in the most recent kit. And I can actually take this here and we're gonna ink it. So we're combining sponging and inking. So with this 1-inch thing, I can just take it and rake it across the top. I just wanna make sure that I get the color, you know, everything's evenly coated. As you can see that it is. And I'm first gonna stamp it on white so I can see what it looks like and see if it's the color I want. And then I'll do the second stamp so I can see what that gives me a different look of. All right, in this particular case, if I was gonna sit up there and stamp it on the white, I would most probably use the lighter color. But if I was gonna stamp it on the yellow or the melon color, let's see what it does. I'm most probably gonna like that much better. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna ink it again. This one I'm doing just a little bit heavier this time, because I'm really not sure. And so I want to see how it's going to look if I do it any heavier. So you can see if I do it really heavy, what a different look I get. So I'm going to do that again, because on that yellow, I know that I'm going to, if I want to go beyond what I've done, because I want it definitely darker than what I set there and sponged on with a cloud. So then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit there and take it. I want to go just right across it, because I wanted it really sort of in the background when I did it. Oops, and see, there you go. So the cloud isn't dominating, and that's the main thing I wanted. I just wanted it softly in the background. Now we're going to see me do it on the white, so you can see the difference. But this one, I'm most likely not going to want it as dark, because it's not like I'm having to overcome the color of the yellow paper as well as, we got a shadow, as the other, but that's okay. This is Nana's work area, so I like the sunshine. So that's the color about what I want. So I'm gonna just do that again lightly. All right, Nana's a morning person and we have sunshine today, which is more than we were supposed to get. So Nana's gonna have to think about that next time. But anyway, we're still gonna do this. Looky here. And see, I still have my dominant blue and I've got my clouds in the background. So that's exactly how I did this over here. Last month, this was the color in the kit, so I wanted to stick with that. But as you know, each month as you get the paper pumpkin, you'll accumulate ink spots and you'll have more of a collection. All right, does Nana need to move? Okay, so that was how I did on this particular card here. Now we're gonna move on to another sponging technique that Nana used on one of her cards for this month. Just put this out of the way. All right, this time you'll see something a little bit bigger than an ink spot, because I sat up there and gave my my ink spot away, so I have to use my regular ink here. And I'm gonna use my sponge again. So we're going to do the technique that I used here. So actually what this here is out of this past month's kit, I took the actual fudge bar here, or the bar that they had in here, and what I did is I cut it off. I just cut it in half, and I used the portion of the card that was just white. And what I did for that is I basically just took this side. So instead of using this edge like I did last time to ink the edges, you know, if I wanted to ink the edges, you can see where I did the edges around here because I wanted to stand out. But so I used this to ink the edges, but when I came to this side, I have to use the bigger sponge. And the reason for that is I'm gonna go in a circular motion. I think I'm just going to do it, let's see, I could do it on the back of this envelope here a second just to be different. Let's see what it's looking like when I sponge it. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a bigger envelope so I can get the same look, and we'll do something different. So I'm gonna do that again. Make sure not too bad. And I'm just gonna turn it in circles. You know, I just sort of gonna brush in circles until I get the color I want. Now this is actually a little bit heavier, but you just sort of have to work with it to get your color. So you can see there, that's the most probably a little bit better color of what that's like, but that's okay. Because Nana's gonna do something else with this. So this is the back of the envelope. And you know, and it's okay to ink and do things on the back of your envelope. You can actually do some stuff on the front. But I just was careful and I just kept on doing the stuff in circle until I got exactly what I wanted on there. And that's how you accomplish that. It was that simple, and I edged it. I'm gonna keep with the envelope because I'm gonna show you some other techniques that I did with the ink as well as the sponge that's gonna go along with this. Part of it will and part of it won't. So the next thing I'm gonna show you is how I got the look on this card. On this card, what I did, you could have done it one of two ways. I didn't have it at the time because I had to punch these out, but I could have gone through here and used one of these as a stencil and actually colored in on a piece of white paper, or just even on top of this right here. I could have just actually inked and sponged this in. I didn't though. The way I did it is that I took, you had one of these here in the kit with the nice sparklies. I know for people that like sparklies, it's sort of hard to give up the sparklies, and it was hard for me to do this, but I wanted to get a different look and show you how to do it. And plus I wanted a different look. So all you had to do on this is, here again, I didn't use the sponge. I could have used the sponge, but I didn't because I just wanted a little bit different look. So what I did is I took my 1-inch ink spot, and all I did was just go across the card, and I just stamped till I got the color I wanted or the look I wanted. And there you go. Now, could I have done it on the circle one? Absolutely, absolutely. I could have done the same thing. I chose that one because it had, I don't know, it just had the little edges on it and all. I sort of like that. But you know what? I could have just as easily done it on the circle one. I just did it like that. Like I said, I could have used a sponge. I didn't. But you have to let it dry, because if not, you're gonna have ink all over you as well as your material you're working with. So actually I had to set that aside while it dried. But you can see on this card, I did exactly what I was telling you a while ago that I was doing. I inked the edges of this card. And see, you can see how when I put it on the back of the insert that was inside the envelopes on the April kit, that when I did that, it really made it stand out more if I had put just the white paper. Because you see where this is just the white paper here and how it looks versus how when I've actually edged it and how it just gives it a little different look, but it sets it apart. So those are some things I did with that. As far as, I was trying to think if there's anything else I didn't show you I did with sponging. But I think I've showed you everything I did with the sponge for the last two kits. The only other thing I did was on the other kit was inking. I inked the trees that were available to ink on the back of the card. And because this craft paper is so dark, I actually had to really ink up my stamps. If you want something really, really dark, and we did that a minute ago, you could see it, but we'll do it again, like this here. And I'll show you. And you know, I'm gonna do it one more time, because if it's not heavy enough on this craft paper, and this goes back to us showing you on the other paper a while ago, then it just doesn't show up. And you know what, I'm gonna stamp on the inside of the card so you can see, because if I mess up, guess what? When I shut the envelope, nobody's gonna know when I seal it up and send this off. Because see how light that is? So if I want it darker, I'm really gonna have to ink it up much, much more. Or we're gonna have to test my skills and see if I can stamp right back on the same spot I just stamped, which that's not always easy. It's easier said than done. See, it blurred. So you really, if you're gonna do it on a darker paper, test it out first, and you'll see that you're gonna have to how much inking you're gonna have to do to make it right. Because when I did the trees, I had to really, really ink them up. And then in that particular case, when I did the trees, it was easier to come back in and stamp over it again with a heavier ink and just do it again. Because, you know, for a tree, if it's a little blurry, that's okay. That's what you expect out of trees, you know, when you sit there and look outside or look at a distance or anything else. The main thing is that you want to get the actual form. So that one was easier. So that's just to give you an example. And, you know, anytime you want to experiment on something like that, if you have the extra paper, fine. If not, you can do it like this here. Because when I seal it and send it off, nobody's going to know except you and me. And that's it. All right, so the other technique I was going to show you with inking, that's sort of the last thing that I have for today is, and I did it on here as well as I did it on this envelope here. And I'm going to show you because I did it also, move these out of the way, because I actually did it on a couple of other things. And this is more inking than sponging. So again, you can see I did do the sponge here because I wanted my edges right here on You Are So Cool. I did that. But then everything else is inked here. So what I do with the inking is, and I'm gonna do it on this here too. I can do it on here. You can see what the different colors are. In this particular case, as you can see on this envelope, I wanted the different colors. So if I take my stamp and I go ahead and we're gonna sample it on this white sheet of paper, this is what it looks like. That's the first stamp, and this is the stamp off. Can I do it darker? Let's see. Stamp on once and stamp it twice. Okay, so I went with the first stamp because that was more the color I wanted to go with. So then all I did was just stamp it here, and then I just come over here and I just stamped it a few times. And yes, you have to come back over and ink it each time. And I'm going to stamp this one off, so the whole thing's not going to be on there, okay? And then I'm just going to clean off my stamp, and we're going to change colors. And I try to do is everything, if I'm going to use this one design right here, I try to do everything I'm going to want to do with it at the same time, so I don't have to keep on rotating colors. You can. It's up to you. I just try to, if I can get all one color out of the way, I do. If I can't, I can't. So in this particular case, you can see I've used a blue, I've used a green, a purple, and I've used the color I've got right now. And same thing on the inside of this card. I stamped the stamps here as well too. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to go with the blue next, because you'll see on some of these, I have to stamp off to get the desired color I want. You may like the desired color. We're all different, and that's what makes stamping and making cards so nice. Is it's handmade, and whatever you make is you. All right, so this one I actually stamped it heavy, and you can see stamp 1 and stamp 2. All right, I wanted the second color. I mean, the first color is fine, but for me, I wanted the lighter color. So what I did is I still stamped 3 times, but now I'm going to do here, and then I'm going to do here. All right, stamp it 3 times. I'm stamping here, and I'm using the second stamp. Yep, I'm gonna do it one more time because this is one of my favorite colors. So again, I'm gonna stamp off just like I did the other. All right, and you're gonna see as you go through and experiment with colors, that's why I always tell you to have a piece of white paper. In this particular case, I've got a sheet of paper for all my crafting so that it's bigger than just an 8.5 by 11, but still it's good so you can see what you're doing before you actually stamp on your final product, or unless you're going to provide yourself an opportunity for creativity, which is always fun too. But here you go with the purple, same thing, stamping it 3 times, and look what it looks like the first time and the second time. Okay, the second time is the color I'm really wanting. So I'm gonna do just like I did a while ago. I'm gonna stamp on once, and I'm actually gonna rotate this time because I can. And I got that. So I'm doing the same thing. Stamp once, and then I'm gonna rotate. And you know what, it's okay if you cross over. Another color. It's your card. It's your creativity. You can do whatever you want. You know, let's just keep that in the right perspective. Okay? So I'm going to clean that off, and then I still have one more color I want because I love these colors. The lime green and the blues and the melons. I like these colors. They're my favorite colors, especially in the summertime. Gets me all excited. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to the beach. I'm ready to play and just get outdoors. So our last color is the lime green. They actually call it granny apple green. But again, I gave away my little ink spots at when we had our paper pumpkin night. We had door prizes, and Nana gave those away as door prizes. So I stamped it 3 times. Let's see what color I get. All right, and when I stamp off, what do I get? Okay, in this case, I really like the first stamp off, so I'm gonna stick with that. And I'm just gonna go add it in. And I'm gonna rotate around because I want different designs. And there you go, I have all my colors that I wanted. And I did it in one sweep, and there you go. So now at this point, I can add a sticker if I want to down here. I can leave it as it is. You know, so I have choices and options. But you can see what I did the first time round. And this time I included my sponge with the ink and doing it that way. So does it give it a different look? Yes, it does. And you can see how the colors look differently. So even though they're the same colors, you can see how it looks different here, where I've actually got a different color in the background versus where I have it on white. So when we go back to the card that I actually made that goes with these envelopes, this is just a white cardstock, and then we have this right here. So I did, like I said, I used my sponge to go around it, and that's because white on white, it gets sort of lost, and I'll give you an example. If I had just left it like this, that's how it would have looked. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure the white on white didn't get lost, and I just sponged around the edges. So you almost, I see those in the future when I do it because it's something I enjoy doing. Here, again, I stamped all over, and then I sat there and used one of the ink pens, and I just dotted in places, and I sprinkled them. So you can see here, this comes in the Stamping Up. It's actually in the Stamping Up accessories and with the paper and all that matches the April kit that Stamping Up put together. And I actually just did that around what I stamped, and whatever stuck with the glue pen is what stuck, and I dusted off and saved the rest for later. And then on the inside, I took the other half, so the card had 2 sides. One had a design on it, which I covered it by flipping it over. And this, or the other part of it, I used for the inside, where again, I stamped with the colors I wanted. And I put the happy birthday. So I got "You're so cool, happy birthday." So that is my techniques for stamping and utilizing ink that I wanted to demonstrate with you today. So please be sure to like us and join us, Zoe and Anna's Stamping, on Facebook as well as on YouTube. We're there once a month to do the paper pumpkin kit, and that'll be Sunday, May 23rd at 4 p.m. Meanwhile, between then and now, we'll sit there and be posting what's coming up, because soon we got the next month's deadline is for May 10th. So if you're interested in joining us with the paper pumpkin kit, you need to go and register and subscribe to it by May 10th. This month's theme is sports theme with baseball and heroes, and it looks like a lot of fun. It's got bubble gum coming in with it, and you'll be able to make 9 cards. So for us, we usually at our Paper Pumpkin Club thing on Sunday, May 23rd, we'll sit up there and make 2 of the cards at least, or whatever designs they have that's in the kit, but then we'll do an alternative just like we've done with this particular month. Generally, we can do everything that's just within the kit itself, and that's what I try to start with. But if for some reason we can't, then we'll go on and move whatever else they put together that matches with the Stamping Up paper and all to go with the kit. But it's always a surprise every month. You never know exactly what it's going to be, other than you know it's 9 cards, it's sports related, and you got bubble gum coming. So again, feel free to join us. If you don't have a demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. I usually send enough material. I send materials out for you for the alternative project that we're going to do on Sunday, and that usually you'll get that usually by time that we do it on Sunday. It shouldn't be unless there's a postal issue. But anyway, again, that's Nana. It's Zoe and Nana. Zoe and Nana on Facebook. And all you gotta do is click on the links next to it to be able to subscribe to the Paper Pumpkin and to join us. And also you can go to my site for Stampin' Up. Again, the link is on the side. So hurry up, join in. May 10th is the deadline to be able to get your kit for the May 23rd Paper Pumpkin. All right, see you guys later. Thank you.